Sandy, you got a question?
Yeah, no, just a couple of things about the geese. What was it, about 10 days ago when it was so cold and the ground was frozen for 4 days and the grass was frozen. I kept an eye on the geese for a couple of days and they were just huddled and weren't really eating, so I got some grain out and fed them. So since then, on the cold nights and things like this, I've been giving them a bit of grain in the morning and a bit in the evening just before it's dark, which I've been told by a goose breeder friend, that's what they do. I'm quite happy to do that. I'm buying the grain, etc., etc. We did it when we first came here. The farm was there. Then somebody named John, I think, fed them, and with the bin next to the pond, and it was full of rats. And then I think Roger helped us get the bin over to the woods in front of our house, and Andrew sealed it, and it hasn't had any grain in it recently because nobody else fed them for the last 2 years or something like that. But in this bad weather, I think it's been quite bad. Andy's been giving them some apple every morning, which is great. And it's more of a treat for them. I think the grain is probably sticks to them a little bit. And Roger's just mumbled something behind me. And yeah, he did take a little sandwich bag or something in the mornings last winter, I think it was. Yeah, it seemed not very much for the amount of geese and the size of geese, but that's fine. The other thing with the geese is that I was out there last week. I can't imagine anybody in the village, I don't know who this was, but if it's somebody that knows who it is here, I don't care really. But I was out putting some grain down. I put in a long line so they can all just grab a bit. And just before dusk, and when I got in, 10 minutes later the phone rang, and it was a woman in the village that came by our house, and while I was out there feeding, and she just looked over and said, "Oh, Sandy's feeding the geese, that's nice," etc. And there was a man, supposedly about, I don't know, 10, 15 feet away from me, hiding in our hedge and peering around and literally trying to hide in the hedge and peering around and watching me feed the geese. To report to who? The parish council? I don't know who it is. But this person said it was very creepy and they wish they had stopped the car at the time and come over and said, "What in heaven's name?" You know, I mean, here we go again. You know, I'm surprised somebody hasn't run the police or got the army in or something like that. I'm feeding the geese when it's really cold, so I'd like to make that announcement so everybody's clear on it and I don't have to creep around. But that was creepy. That was very, very creepy. So if anybody knows who it is, it's ridiculous. And I just hope somebody will agree that this is just, please let's not start all this silliness up again.
Well, I'm happy you used the last words in your sentence. My personal view, we had a discussion on, I think it was the last parish council meeting, about someone feeding bread to the geese. And I think the general feeling was that is not a wise thing to do. And I think words like "it attracts vermin" was used. My personal view is I am happy if you feed the geese. I know that the advice we've had in the past is that they don't need it. On the other hand, how much are you going to give them? So at the end of the day, I think we have to be very sensible. I don't have any personal issues whatsoever, provided you don't feed them in the play area.
I'm feeding behind our chicken run, where the stream is, where they cross through, and it's just enough for them to have something first thing in the morning when it's this kind of weather, and something in the evening, just settle them down for the evening.
I think, Brian, we do need to be aware that actually as a parish council, Roger has been feeding them for us when it's cold over these last few weeks, which means they are actually having far more food than is necessarily healthy for them to be having as they top up, and we perhaps need to come to an agreement where they are only being fed once. because otherwise it's really not good for them.
And also, I think it's great that people are concerned about the geese, but I personally don't think that that should be coming out of your own pocket. You know, if we agree that as a parish council that they should be fed, great if somebody feeds them, but we should be providing that grain for you. I'm sure it's not expensive.
That's Roger's line of work. Which is why
I know it is, but even if it's Roger's line of work, I don't see why that should be coming out of Roger's or Sandy's or anybody else's pocket when we said that it's okay to feed them. I think we should at least be giving some sort of contribution towards it if that's what if we're agreeing that they should be fed, and you know, it just doesn't sit right with me.
I think it's...
And it's obviously up to you.
Yeah,
It's lovely that you want to do it.
I'm going to ignore that a little bit because it doesn't cost me a penny, because that's my line of work, it's screening, so it's...
That's it.
So that's not a problem. It also feeds somebody else's chickens in the village, I believe. I think it's very wrong that we should allow a situation to develop where people feed geese on the green. That should be totally controlled by the parish council, should be the responsibility of the parish council, organised by the parish council, and done according to the recommendations which have been made to this parish council ever since we re-established, re-strengthened the flock we already had on the green. The situation changed with the loss of the farmyard, where grain was available fairly freely in hard times. But the goose is a natural grass grazing animal. The grass has been unaffected for grazing during the whole of this very mild winter. It was perfectly edible in the 3 frosty days we had, mostly during the day. And it's nice to go and feed the geese, but it's not something that we should be encouraging, and we should be discouraging and asking people to desist. Simple as that.
There was a period of which when we were actually trying to encourage them to feed over the other side of the street, which worked for some time, but they aren't hungry now. They were eating apple up to that point when they were being fed alternatives, and now they're not interested in that, so they're obviously feeling very comfortable about being fed.
On the west side of the street.
They were being fed.
Where do you feed them, Sandy?
Just on the edge of that.
Of the
Just
street?
on my side of the stream, but just
Yeah,
across from where they were being fed. It's 8 feet across the stream.
Like Andy said, there was encouragement to try and keep them on that side of the green away, particularly from the play area.
Well, that's my concern. The play area is my concern. The area where Sandy mentions to me is not
Near the
really
play.
issue.
Well, the football pitch and so on, I mean, it's all that area. Really.
Yeah, but no, that's...
I'm not
that's
anywhere near
where
the football
you're-
pitch. Of the
No,
green.
that's this side
Yes, I know.
of your house,
Yeah.
right? So
It's
It's an area that is used far more
East
than the
side.
area we were feeding them.
Yeah,
It's used by the children having to walk through to get their butts.
No.
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 You mean if you come out of your gate, you turn left, and
Yeah.
before you get to the stream, that's where you'll get...
Go all the way around to the stream, to the edge of the
When I
stream.
saw Santa feeding the geese, she was feeding them pretty much level with where your sign about the dog excrement is.
Okay, so that's the area.
By the stream.
Shouldn't feel it at
So
all.
in front.
You went in my hedge, were you, Carol? Were you in my hedge?
You said it was a man.
Well, she thought it was man. Without a dog.
Yes, continues to grow.
I don't know. Creepy. Just creepy.
My feeling, and I know that there certainly was emotion. I think that the emotion has pretty much gone now. And I think we just have to be quite reasonable. And we have to be quite sensible.
It's not about emotion though, Graham. We spent a lot of time consulting experts who advise that actually it's not good for the geese. We're destroying their natural instinct to feed if we just provide them with food all the time.
Exactly.
And if we just encourage anyone who wants to feed them,
They're domestic
we're actually
geese.
setting
They're not
them up to
wild.
fail.
That way,
And we spent all that time doing all those things and getting all those expert opinions.
Do you
So
want to
to
go
now
back to
ignore
the
them.
dark ages again?
No, but I don't
That's
want the
where
geese
we're
that we've gone all
If
to all
we
this
don't-
trouble to keep them and to help them to be successful, we're going back to helping them to fail if we go back to all the things that the experts have told us we shouldn't do.
They do need feeding if the summers are very dry, and they need feeding supplementary in the winter time. And he felt that a double handful of chicken, 50% chicken, layer pellets and grain would be sufficient for 4 birds.
They're not being raised for fattening or anything like that.
But they are domestic geese. There's another,
Grass.
a woman
That's what they
that
eat.
lives in the village also went and got some grain. This was several months ago or something. Got some actual, corn grain for the geese from I don't know where. And her husband said that she went out to sprinkle some down to the geese one day on the green. And somebody, a man, appeared and started shouting at her and telling her she couldn't allow to feed the geese. And she was really quite frightened by this overreaction. She said, you feed the birds, you feed the ducks something, giving the geese a little bit of grain or something. She said, I'm part of the village, I live here. She said, I didn't know what all the to-do was about, that everybody was up in arms about it. And she said, it really upset, and the husband said, it really upset her quite a bit. And I thought, how ridiculous. And so you say, let's go back to the dark ages again. And Ellen, they're domestic geese. They're farm animals. You feed farm animals. They don't fly off to the next village or something like that. They don't.
If people want to help, that's great, let's encourage them, but let's encourage them with the rota so that they are not being fed by several people all on the same day. They don't need it, and it is harmful to their future and to their health. To have that much grain all in the one day, they'll eat it, they're greedy, they'll eat whatever is put in front of them, but they don't need it and it causes them harm. So if we want to encourage help, great, excellent, I'm all for that, but let's do it in the right way, so that we haven't got anyone who feels like it throwing them food whenever they feel.
Okay. Good suggestion.
What do the other people on the council think?
Should I ask a question from the floor?
Colin?
Can we move on? I came here because some quite interesting subjects on the agenda tonight. The public forum is well worthwhile when a member of the public can have 3 minutes uninterrupted saying what they wish to say, and I welcome all comments from the public forum. Some of them are very interesting, others less so. But we don't need a 20-minute, in excess now, 20-minute discussion about something that has been discussed on many occasions before. Can we move on, please, to item 7 on the agenda?
Anyone else want to say anything about the geese? I think Ellen's suggestion is perhaps a good one. And I think maybe Ellen, we need to take that a bit further. We'll get back to you, Sandy.
Thank you.
And thanks for your openness.
Thank you.
Any more questions on the